So a very small amount of money coming, trying to, rush into the space. It's like, some have described it as, trying to get the Hoover Dam through a garden hose, right? Like it is violent. It is disruptive.
Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics. As we continue on into mid-December, wow, Shawn, can you believe it is already mid-December? 2021, right around the corner when Davos says it's going to be the Great Reset. So
Well,
God only knows what's coming next. And as you can see, I'm joined by my good friend, Shawn Khunkhun of Dolly, Varden Silver, who has had quite an impact in a short period of time since taking over. One of my favorites in the mining sector, sponsor to the show who helps bring you guys Arcadia Economics every night. So let's everybody at home have a big hand for Shawn there. Thank you, sir. Welcome on in. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. The first thing that comes to mind, Chris, when you mentioned December, I think of Christmas. And whether it's a stocking stuffer or just a straight gift, I think every Christmas should not go out without my favorite book, The Big Silver Short by yours truly. So I've got my copy here and just want to give a plug to you, Chris. It's a great book and I'm enjoying it. And I think it makes it for a great gift.
Well, that sure is kind of you to say that. I mean, the whole point was really to lay out for people who have heard about this or just getting into silver and hear manipulation, a whole bunch of different things. And one document really lay out why I think there's so much merit to silver, why I think people like you and others who spent your whole career to be in the position where you're running a silver company. Unfortunately, we'll be giving away some Christmas bonus gifts, including some silver and a couple copies of the book at the end by folks who tag this on Twitter to Dolly Varden and Arcadia Economic. And we also have some Dolly Varden news, which we will get to. But to kick it off, Shawn, maybe you could walk through, it'd be fun because I'm sure everyone at home watching was experiencing this too. When you woke up this morning and looked at the silver price, if it was somewhere around here early in the day, wasn't looking so good. And then really, I don't know that I've in the 11 years I've been following silver, I don't know if I've ever seen a chart quite like this. Why don't you walk us through, especially from the perspective of a guy running a silver company, any thoughts on what we saw here in a very volatile day?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Chris. Like I try to keep my head down most of the time and think of the big picture and focus on projects that are going to work in lower silver price environments. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that when I woke up this morning and I got my first coffee, I looked and I saw silver was down 40 cents an ounce, about 1.5%. And by the time I was through my second coffee, it was up 40 cents or it was up 1.5%. So it's a roller coaster out there. And, just thinking more so of how much volatility we've seen since March, to have an $11 handle on the price of silver and then to have a 3-0 in front of the silver price, it's quite something.
Yeah, it sure was. And I remember those days back in March because it felt like we were just finally breaking out of a 9-year bear market. And then there were definitely a couple of days where I remember the price down by $12. I'm like, wow, did you just see this sector killed for the next couple of years? And really has been stunning how quickly things have turned around. You had the shutdown of supply, but also perhaps even most significantly, finally, we did have a move in price this year, which certainly came as welcome news.
Chris, I was thinking today, I'm sort of in the throes of the junior mining business and have been for the last 20 years, and I'm living this stuff daily. But even I don't think I really have an appreciation for how small it is in terms of a space. Like, if you took all the companies in the mining business and you put them all together, maybe measured in a few tens of billions, right? But in the big picture of, you look at what different governments are printing on an annual basis, when we're throwing out numbers like trillion, like it is so tiny. And I was just thinking, for any of your viewers who are new to, silver, or new to any of these types of ideas, one thing that's really captivated speculators in the last couple of years that I think we can, even for the novice silver speculator can appreciate, is something like Bitcoin. And so what I want your audience to think about here is, when you take a company like Dolly Varden, for instance, right? But it could be, any of your sponsors, or any company in the mining business. But let's take a company like Dolly, just because I know it well. So the 50 million ounces that we've got in the ground, think of those like 50 million Bitcoins, right? And I think back to where Bitcoin was in 2017, right? And where it started the year, then where it ended the year. And I think you and I share some views of, what's happening in silver, and where things are headed, and just how small the market is, and how explosive it could be. And then multiply that move by a 50 million ounces that you can get out of the ground. It's explosive, it's spectacular, and it's why you can see companies like Dolly's move this year. We've gone from 16 cents to $1.17 a share, and then pulled back. We're trading around 80 cents a share today, but it's quite dramatic, and we're in the early innings of this move. So we've got some great days ahead. It's tiny. It's so tiny, and it works like a double-edged sword, where the last 3 months where it's been quiet, and you've seen the price of gold pull back by $300, and you've seen the price of silver come down from 29 to 22, and now we've got a $24 handle. When that money freezes up, it has a dramatic impact on the share prices and the price of silver, but it has the opposite reaction as well. So a very small amount of money trying to rush into the space. It's like some have described it as trying to get the Hoover Dam through a garden hose, right? Like, it is violent, it is disruptive, and often what I've seen over the years is, you can take the price of something and move the decimal point one to the right, and still have a long way to go.
Yeah, I sure think so. And Shawn, it's always nice when we have you on the show. I don't claim to be a genius here, and since you're one of the smarter people I've met since I've started doing this, I'm going to lay out a couple facts here, and maybe you can tell me if I'm missing something, because I can't figure it out. Because, there's a lot of people that you talked about the up and down in silver. Some people are wondering, oh, is it time to sell? Or, is prices coming down, it's bubble, all that stuff. So let us review, at least this is what I think about. Here's the Fed's balance sheet. First 100 years, we got up to 900 billion. Now we're up at 7 trillion. So Shawn, when silver was falling from $50 to the mid-teens, you can see here how the balance sheet actually was never reduced, but actually increasing. Data point number 2. Oh, here's the U.S. debt clock. And just a side note to that, I saw this headline today I thought was kind of interesting. Biden already signals reckless abandon on spending and doubt. I'm sure you didn't have to wait to the election to notice that was coming, Shawn, and you were able to get that ahead of time, I guess.
Sorry, you cut out there for a sec, Chris. Say that last sentence one more time.
I said, I'm guessing you didn't need to wait till the election results were in, which I don't even know if they are or not yet, but to know that Biden's going to be spending a lot of money. And so when we see these charts like today, I guess what I would point out is people get thrown off by this, but we see here, you see a lot of volume when a price goes up, when a price goes down. And whether people call it manipulator or whatever, I think the key takeaway is that there are going to be days where if you're looking at the silver price on a day-to-day, it's not going to react like you might think it should. yet. Shawn, can you think of any way that these numbers ever come down, which I would say is what will determine the long-term fate?
Chris, I just, for me, like you mentioned, intelligence and not being the smartest in the sector or the space. What I like to keep it really, really simple. And if I went into the gym and I trained and every day I looked at my muscles and said, oh, hey, why aren't they growing? Why aren't they growing? And they didn't grow today, therefore I'm not going to go to the gym tomorrow. That's a recipe for disaster. So I try to keep it very, very, very simple. Simple sayings like sit tight and be right. We've done our homework. There's reasons that we are here. You look at the amount of money that is going into silver investing. You look at the amount of metals that are coming out of the ground. Everything is calling for higher prices, and again, we've seen the rewards. We've had a breakout year. This represents a multi-year breakout. And if anyone wants to know where silver is going, look at where gold was in May of 2019. Gold is telling you where silver is going. And this has repeated itself time and time again. And now silver's broken out this summer, and we are in the early days. Just go back to May or June of 2019. Look at what the gold price has done in the last 12, 18 months. And that's going to tell you where silver's going. And silver will do it, and it'll be intensifies, it'll be exaggerated, and many call silver gold on steroids. So we're about to see something very explosive, very disruptive. It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, I think so. And perhaps my Kitco 2019 chart not pulling up just yet, but put another way, Shawn, can you even think of a scenario in the long term where we don't have higher metals prices? I mean, we sit here and think about it, look at these reasons, but where could we be wrong? Is there something we could be missing? What's the risk?
And you know what? I love silver, and I know your program is silver focused, but this is bigger than silver. This is gold. This is copper. This is an everything situation here where all these metals have been depressed. Silver is the one that I think is going to go the farthest, the fastest, and it's the only metal in the planet that's seen as money and has a major industrial component. So it's very unique, it's very special, and that's why you and I have devoted our professional careers to this metal. And but no, I don't see any scenario. If we get a depression, you want to be in the currency hedges during deflation. Gold and silver do very, very well in a deflationary depression. If we get a hyperinflationary event, if all the stimulus, if all this money creation, if it gets out and we see velocity of money pick up and we see it out in the system, there's no better place to be. And I think silver, it can shine, twice as bright because it's got both of those. It's got the currency component and it's got the industrial component. So it's the most unique metal on the planet, and it's really rare. I envision a future, Chris, where when the price moves up, funds are going to grow up out of nowhere. You're going to see $100 million funds, $1 billion funds, and the challenge they're going to have is most of the silver is concentrated in places like Mexico, in places like Peru, in places like Chile, in Argentina. And the reality is they're not going to, their chief compliance officers, Chris, are going to have a conniption over all that one country exposure. And so a project that's, in Canada, like Dolly Varden, or in a safe jurisdiction is going to be very, very attractive. So pure silver plays, safe jurisdictions, that's the name of the game.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people, myself included, are turning to the mining stocks. And I guess, obviously, I'm a little biased here, but I'm a big fan of what you do. I love hearing the approach that you take to your project. And essentially, it's like if people want to get leverage on silver, if you do think there's a big move coming, essentially that's what you position Dolly Varden to do, to be able to capture that. From our conversations, I feel as if you've essentially set up your company for that specific purpose, to put a good vehicle together. So if people do believe there's a move coming, that you take away as much of the risk while leaving as much as the upside as possible. And perhaps we could just talk about that for a bit.
Yeah, you know what? I think the best place to look for a mine is next to a mine. And in this case, we did one better. We actually got it. We got a couple of old past producing mines. And the beauty with our flagship mine, a lot of the silver was left intact. And previous operators had just walked away because the price of silver, Chris, believe it or not, it was 85 cents an ounce when they abandoned mining operations. So, you know, we kind of had an unfair advantage because we started with a lot of silver in the ground, and there was a lot of activity that was occurring on our borders. We're part of a big region that has a lot of gold and silver. The area is referred to as the Golden Triangle. So I think the most recent reports I read, there's about 130 million ounces of gold in the ground in the triangle and over 1 billion ounces of silver. And there are some characteristics of our project that some similarities to some of the biggest, richest silver mines in the area. One of the big ones, it had both gold and silver, was called Eskay Creek. And Chris, it had produced over 200 million ounces of silver, and the grades were off the charts. It was a gold equivalent. If you added in the gold and the silver, it was like 75 grams per ton gold equivalent. That includes all the silver. Just the silver grades were like 2,200 grams per ton. There's a smaller mine just south of it that was recording similar grades, and then we're a little bit south of that. And if you look at some of the historic grades that have come out of Dolly, over 1,000 grams per ton, and at the Torbert mine, close to 500 grams per ton. So, you know, we started with these two really rich mines. There was a total of 4 that were in production. And there's an area that I refer to as the Silver Highway, which is over 3 miles going north to south. And it's just littered with new discoveries, past producing mines, and just a ton of exploration potential. And so the strategy here is, you know, I look at Dolly Varden as a bank, and what our inventories are cash and silver resources. So we've got about 25 million in cash in Canadian dollars, and we've got about 50 million ounces in silver inventory. And my goal is I just want to keep increasing the bank balance, keep increasing the inventory, and do it in an accretive way. You know, we started when I took over the company was trading 24 cents a share. The first financing I did was at 30, then at 45, then at 71, then at $1. So again, we're bringing in dollars, but we're doing it in a non-dilutive, accretive way that's less dilutive to the cap structure. And the silver ounces that we're going to find now, if we're finding new ounces by changing shares out at $1, it's non-dilutive and it's accretive, and our discovery cost goes way down, regardless of what that discovery cost is, because we're doing it with you know, non-dilutive dollars. So that's the strategy. I want to come to you in a year and come to you and show you my inventory having it increased and transformed. And that's the goal, to every year transform the inventory. And there's 2 ways that I know how to do that, Chris. One is in the field on a highly prospective piece of ground like the Dolly Varden, where you saw the company this year, we stepped outside of the main mine and we started extending it. The other way to do that is through acquisitions. So it's finding companies that are, you know, merger candidates that are looking for us to come in with our exploration know-how, with our capital markets know-how, and unlock the value of their project or company. So, you know, that we're, again, so it's in the boardroom and it's in the field that we can grow inventory. And now we're in a good position, Chris, where we've got some money in the bank, where we could take advantage of some opportunities on our ground and also beyond. So that's the idea here. I see it as a bank, and I just want to keep increasing the bank balance.
Yeah, it's like a bank, but instead of useless treasuries or mortgage paper or paper Ben Bernanke notes, you actually get silver. So I
Well, the other
like
thing,
that.
well, the other thing is, if we keep our money in the bank, we know where that's going to go, right? And versus having it, a large part of our inventory in silver, and with the price moving the way it is, it can be very, very, very accretive to our shareholders.
Yeah, and Shawn got an email, fortunately, today. I know you had some news out. Perhaps you could just give us a quick rundown on what happened here.
Yeah, sure. You know what? This is something I've been working on since I took over Dolly in February, and this is an opportunity here, and this is the narrative that I really want to construct here going forward. Is we are more than just an exploration company, and by securing these lands, and that's what we. This is a land deal. We previously, up until today, we were leasing the land where our camp, where our core is stored, where our facilities are housed. And what we've done today is we've purchased the land where all of the Dolly Varden facilities are. In addition to purchasing the land, we've also got strategic access to the Pacific Ocean and the port at Alice Arm, and all the all the rights going towards the water. And really, Chris, this is bigger than just Dolly Varden grabbing some land that their facilities are on. This is strategically acquiring ground in a emerging and bustling mining camp. So again, Dolly is sandwiched in between two larger mining entities, right? But what we've done here is now not only do we control our own destiny by grabbing the land that our buildings are housed on and getting us access to the port and for all the future use that that's going to imply, but really it's strategic ground for the whole area. And what I want to do here is I want any development to have to come through Dolly, and this is one step towards that. And you're going to see us look at doing road improvements. You're going to see us look at going underground. You're going to see us, potentially do a bulk sample. And at the same time, we're going to continue to aggressively explore. So what I want to create here, Chris, is a two-headed monster. I want to create one that's unlocking value through exploring, but one that's also starting to go down the path of development towards mining.
Yep. Yeah, and certainly in this environment, a nice spot to be in. And Shawn, actually, the last question I have for you today, obviously you're talking to investors every day. Curious what you're seeing as we wrap up 2020. I get the feeling we saw maybe a little bit of the funds participating earlier this year, yet still I would say in the silver space, a lot of, it's a little too early to jump in. I don't want to be the only guy out there. What are you hearing in terms of institutional money so far?
One of the things that I was really surprised by, because it seemed like a very active summer. Okay, it seemed like there was a lot of deals and there was a lot of money raised, and there was a lot of enthusiasm. You would think with gold going to a new all-time high, like it did that in all other currencies, and finally doing it in U.S. dollars, and the move that silver had, and so the precious metals are on fire. But then if you take a step back and you look at the data, Chris, we're not even at half the money that was raised in 2010. So here we are. Okay, so what did the Fed do this year? 3 trillion? Okay, so the Fed's done 3 trillion, and we're not even at half of the money that was raised in 2010. Where are we in terms of a bull market? Are we in the first inning? Are we in the ninth inning? Where are we in this bull market? All you have to do is look at the amount of capital that was raised for the sector, and it's early days.
Yeah, I sure think so. I think the manager is still given the lineup card, and we have not even. I mean, it's like if silver was 50 bucks in 1980. I mean, I'm glad it's higher than 18, but go ahead.
Chris, there was a big move when you saw the metals put in a high in around August. Okay, there was a big move away from precious metals into energy. Okay, so there's traditional investors that play, resource stocks and oil and gas stocks, and there was a rotation out of the metals, and silver saw that rotation starting at around $29-30 and down here, and I think it was a premature rotation, and I think you're starting to see what the action in the metal prices today is surprising a lot of participants, and you're going to see a lot of catch up here. And if you look back over the last 50 years, okay, what you're historically going to see is a period of weakness for the metals from about August to December. Seasonally, there's a seasonality that comes into play there, and from, call it, I don't know, mid-December up until the spring, up until as late as May, you see strong seasonality. So this is a time, don't go and bury your head in Christmas just yet. Do some homework, look for precious metals companies, go out and get some precious metals, because we're about to go into a period from here to May that's going to be explosive. And my bet is Mr. Biden is going to have a big stimulus package between now and the end of the first quarter, and that's going to be like putting gasoline on the fire, Chris. And wherever we were going to go anyways, it's just going to go that much further. And so I'm pretty bullish between here and end of February. I've got a target on silver. I don't know if I've shared it with you yet, but my target's $42 between now and the end of February. And you start looking at what these companies are worth on a net present value basis, on a net asset value basis, and you start working yourself backwards. It calls for much, much higher prices on these shares.
Yeah, I sure think so. Yeah, I didn't hear much during the campaign about Joe Biden's fiscal austerity measures. So, Shawn, given that that's the world we live in, can you give folks the website one more time so they can know how to find you and stay posted?
Absolutely. It's dollyvardensilver.com. Not Dolly Parton, but Dolly Varden, dollyvardensilver.com.
Yes, a key difference, although I'm sure she loves silver too. And in honor of this being a Silver December to remember, Shawn, we're going to sweeten the deal here. You mentioned the book, so perhaps you can hold up the big silver short again. So to one lucky winner tonight, we're going to give out a silver trifecta. So if you go onto Twitter and tag Arcadia Economic as well as at Varden Silver, yes? Varden Dolly.
Silver Varden.
Silver Varden. So I'll have that in the description below. Take the interview link, share it out on Twitter, and someone is going to get not only a copy of the book, not only in honor of your Canada motherland there, Shawn will get a nice Canadian maple leaf, but to sweeten the deal, since coffee apparently drives the silver price, I'm going to throw in, well, if you can see it, my Got Silver mug. Let's try and get
it's coming. In and out.
Coming in and out, but oh, there you go. So now you can drink your coffee with a nice silvery taste to it. So, Shawn, I appreciate you joining me, and we'll get a nice Christmas present out to one of our lucky winners tonight. I also appreciate that. I mean, again, I feel like my core base of knowledge is in silver, the commodity. And while I'm excited and having fun learning about the miners, as I finished my Bill Walsh book on leadership, I love the page he has about delegation, where it's like, I don't want to try and know everything, but in terms of someone who's going in there, finding ounces, that's one of the reasons why I am personally quite proud to be a Dolly Varden shareholder under your leadership. So appreciate everything you're doing. And folks, the last time Shawn was on the show, I thought it was a fun talk because you always hear during these silver rallies, the 10 baggers, 20 baggers, 30 or 50 baggers. And if you want to know what Shawn looks for in some of the ones he has found in his career, that video is coming your way now.